I do think it's a little bit too much about the big events now, but an event like this, bringing 100,000 people to watch an event, a boxing event, it's what we need. We need to get the energy back into our sport. Here we have Oscar, who is making a huge, bold step, the first South American openly gay male fighter. He's gonna be a world champion. It's just a matter of time. So hopefully he's gonna get this whole community behind him. How many people are gonna tune in? Because we wanna see if this gay man can fight. One of those other female fighters that some of us think's the GOAT, she says, oh, if I had 3-minute rounds, I could knock more people out. Look, I knocked out 31 people in 2-minute rounds. So no, if you can knock people out, you can knock them out.
So you're maybe not the biggest Claressa Shields fan then?
Oh, did you catch that?
The card we're going to see in July, history in the making, that's how it's being built, and it's about bringing boxing back to the people. You have been around the sport for a long time. Where do you see the sport at the moment? Do you feel like it has maybe moved away a little bit from its kind of heartlands, from its real community, and it's a bit too much about the big events now? How do you see it?
I do think it's a little bit too much about the big events now, but an event like this here in San Francisco, bringing 100,000 people to watch an event, a boxing event, it's what we need. We need to get the energy back into our sport. And, you know, we're going to have 2 or 3 title fights on the show, lots of diverse fighters. It's going to be a great night of boxing, but it's going to be a great night for boxing as well.
Because community is a massive aspect for boxing, isn't it? It kind of geographically, but also the people that you represent when you walk up those steps into the ring. I mean, that's always been probably the biggest part of the sport, I would say. Would you agree?
Well, of course, because it's like some people have that built-in fan base. Like the Mexican fighters, they're so fortunate because they have the whole country of Mexico supporting them. You know, here we have Oscar, who is making a huge, bold step, the first South American openly gay male fighter to really come out here and challenge for, he's going to be a world champion. It's just a matter of time. But so hopefully he's going to get this whole community behind him. You know, his stock is just going to continue to grow. And again, an event like this, where he's going to be introduced to so many different people, so many different avenues of people, it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger.
I mean, I think that's something we all have a lot of admiration for, but you know what a macho, testosterone-fueled sport boxing is. So for him to do that, it's not to be underestimated.
This man has so much courage and so much confidence in himself to be able to take a step like this out into the spotlight. I mean, we're not just talking about coming out to his family and friends. We're talking about coming out to the world as a professional boxer. I mean, this is like the last place in sports that someone's going to look for a gay male to be participating. So I give him so much credit, even if he can't fight, but he can, as a person, and what he's going to do for all the young people that are going to look up to him and say, wow, look at the courage and the confidence that Oscar had to come out to the boxing world. I can be confident in myself no matter what it is that I choose to do.
That's massive, isn't it? Because people want to look at sports stars to see someone who's like them, and it makes them feel that if they can do it, then they can also do it. And I mean, you know plenty about that from times where you felt like you, even though you were doing that you had to hide who you were to an extent.
Well, it was, you know, on my personal journey, it was tough because I really no female fighter had gotten the exposure and made the journey that I was fortunate enough to make. But, and you can't relate to somebody. It's always easier if you've seen somebody make that path before you. Oscar's making a path that not many have had the courage to even think about making. And he's out here on a huge stage, being the co-feature of a fight that's going to bring in 100,000 people live. So how many people around the world are going to watch, and how many people are going to tune in because we want to see if this gay man can fight? You know, and no matter which side of the fence you're standing on, you're going to tune in to check him out. And it's his time to shine. Samson and Paco, they're giving him a great opportunity to show the world, look, yes, I'm gay, but I can fight.
So you touched on something interesting there about how when you were fighting, obviously you didn't have anybody to look at and try and emulate. You were a trailblazer. Do you think that the current generation of female fighters understand kind of what you went through and what others went through, like Jane Couch in the UK, for example? Do you think they really appreciate it maybe in the way that they should?
I think definitely some of the female fighters that are out there right now do appreciate the ones that came before them. And I mean, there's a whole generation in the 90s, me and so many others, but there's the ones that came before me that helped, whittle away at that glass ceiling until we finally got there, we're able to break through. Some of them do, some of them think it's all about them, but that's what we're talking about, even with this generation of male fighters. They forget to reflect back to all the greats that came before them and that made it possible for them to keep doing what they do, what they love to do.
I think it's really important that, particularly in a sport like boxing, you not hang on to the past, but to an extent you do hang on to it, because there are so many stories in this sport. There are so many amazing characters, and you don't want to forget them. We have something in boxing that other sports don't have, and that maybe we don't make as much of it as we should.
I think overall, this generation of athletes, they just don't give enough credit to the ones that came before them. But I mean, when you sit and talk to, recently I had a fighter in my gym that didn't know who Aaron Pryor was. And he was in that weight class, welterweight. And I was like, are you kidding me? He's like, yeah, how do you think he would do with me? How would I do with him? I'm like, look, he ate people like you for breakfast. I mean, you wouldn't be able to even think about going in the ring with a guy like Aaron Pryor. But how can these guys not know the history? Like, if this is what you want to be, if this is what you want to do, how do you not learn the history of your sport? I don't understand that.
No, it's great when you speak to a fighter who watches old tape and it goes back through the decades. Who were your favourites then?
Well, I just recently watched George Foreman and Ron Lyle, because I think that's one of the best heavyweight fights that ever happened. But of course, my favorite fighters like Joe Frazier, Mike Tyson, Roberto Duran, Julio Cesar Chavez, like warrior kind of fighters. That's who I like to watch. Carmen Basilio, if you want to go back in those days, and those guys, the real fighters, warriors.
That's a hell of a list. I think sometimes fighters like that maybe don't get the credit for their skills that they deserve, because if you're tough, people kind of assume that you're maybe a bit basic, and they'd look at maybe your Mayweathers, Pernell Whitakers as being the really kind of skillful fighters, but all of those guys you mentioned have got incredible skill.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that you can be aggressive, but you can be an aggressive counterpuncher. And a lot of that is, you're going forward and you're throwing your big bombs, but you're setting up them to make a mistake. And as soon as your opponent throws, a slow jab or a lazy right hand, you counter it, and then the night is over. But they don't always get the credit, like you said. Fans, casual fans, don't give the credit to the punchers that they should get.
So who do you like of the modern fighters who's fighting today? There's got to be someone, surely.
I'm a big fan of both Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano on the female side of it. I just like to see guys that'll go out there and fight, and unfortunately, we don't really see them all the time. That'll just go out there and be a lot of action. Are you kidding me? Benavidez, those fast hands, a big guy, he's definitely one of my favorite fighters. I think he put on a classic show this past weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely brutal.
Come on. I mean,
in that kind of situation, do you feel for the guy on the receiving end, because you've been in there and massive fight, huge night, biggest night of both of their careers, and to have that happen to you? that happened to Ramirez, where you just get annihilated like that. I saw him take a knee, and that little shake of the head at the referee, basically to say, I can't do this anymore. And I did feel really, really sorry for him.
Look, I was that person that took a knee one night. I took a knee against Layla Ali, and I'm gonna bet you there was nobody in the house feeling sorry for me. So no, I don't feel sorry for anybody, and that's what we choose to do. We choose to go out there and fight, and you know, may the best man or woman win, and definitely Benavidez showed us that he is the best man at that cruiserweight class.
That's interesting to hear. It's a cold business, isn't it?
It is.
It's a cold business that even though, you know, you've got that kind of, I guess you have empathy because you know what it's like, but just not sympathy. And there's a difference between the two.
Amen.
Final one from me. Where do you stand on the 3-minute rounds versus 2-minute rounds with female pro boxing currently? Because Amanda Serrano's championing it at the minute. Alicia Baumgartner's done it. Other fighters have done it. You know, back in the 90s, Layla McCarter did it a lot. So it's not, again, like you said before, it's not like this is something that hasn't been done before. It's not like that flag hasn't already been planted. But are you in favour of it?
So when I turned pro in 1989, I fought 3-minute rounds. But as time went on, somewhere along the line, the rounds got switched to 2-minute rounds. I think 2-minute rounds for the women's fights, I think it just brings more fans to the women's fights. There's nothing but, you don't have any time but to be action. So I sometimes think the men should fight 2-minute rounds because we're watching these guys fight and they're so damn boring. Let's see them fight 2-minute rounds. And it's just punch bell to bell. And then I hear this. I hear one of those other female fighters that some of us think's the GOAT. She says, oh, if I had 3-minute rounds, I could knock more people out. Look, I knocked out 31 people in 2-minute rounds. So no, if you can knock people out, you can knock them out. So you don't need 3-minute rounds. You just need 2 minutes, and you're gonna get paid the same amount of money anyway, because it's about who sells tickets and who puts butts in the seats. It's not about if you're fighting 2-minute rounds or 3-minute rounds.
So you're maybe not the biggest Claressa Shields fan then?
Oh, did you catch that?
But yeah, that's it, isn't it? You know, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. People seem to think that it's impossible to knock people out in 2 minutes, but you know different.
Well, a lot of people saw me